What's up, nerds? Welcome to Guys That Magic. I'm Shane and I'm with Riley. Say what up.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
We're excited. We're doing the backup commander for the revival trance. If you wanted to see the face commander, that'll be over on our YouTube as well. But we're here for the backup. I'm super excited, Riley. Are you?
I am super excited.
Good. Because so far, I think these decks have been awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you're doing with this deck. So, why don't you just talk about the commander and what the deck wants to do?
Yeah, so our commander for this go around is going to be Celes Rune Knight. She is a red, a white, and a black for 4 mana. You get a legendary creature, Human Wizard Knight. She's a 4/4, and she says whenever she enters, you can discard any number of cards and then draw that many cards +1. So she will immediately just draw you at least one card, plus then you can just start to filter things away, which is really cool. She also has an ability that says whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if one or more of them entered from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So she buffs the whole team.
Oh, that's really good. Okay. Well, I'm terrified to see what you do with this deck. But before we get into your upgrades, let's have a word from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Evoke the Art and their new Gradient Craft token series. This token set features 50 high-quality tokens in some stunning gradient art style, featuring some original art, free of any AI-generated designs, ensuring authentic and unique visuals, designed for players who appreciate both function and aesthetics. These will bring a vibrant and distinct look to your battlefield. Head over to zaxxmasstudios.etsy.com for more information on picking up these and more tokens. The link will be in the description. We got a special gift for all of our Guys That Magic fans. Use the code WhatsUpNerds at checkout to get 10% off your order and get this awesome Guys That Magic treasure token. Huge thanks to all of our friends over at Evoke the Art. Now let's get back to the video. Riley, let's jump into your additions, but before we do that, just a quick reminder, all the prices on screen right now are going to be before the pre-release, so prices may be in flux, but as the time of recording, we're sticking with our $100 budget. Take it away, Riley.
So for the phase commander, I really wanted to stick on theme with Final Fantasy, and part of the reason why I wanted to do that is because I'm not taking this in that direction. Sadly, this one I'm moving in a very different direction altogether. This is an incredibly powerful commander because of her ability to put those +1/+1 counters on things whenever we have a creature come back from the graveyard. So we're going to be running a couple of creatures. I'll explain what the first one does. There's a common mechanic in mind here. We're going to talk about Murderous Redcap. This is 2 and hybrid of a black red for 4 mana. You get a 2/2 that says whenever it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. And it has an ability called Persist. Now, this Persist ability is really important in this list. So, Persist, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it says whenever this creature dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter. This is really cool because if it dies and we have Celes in play, it will come back to play with that -1/-1 counter, and Celes will put a +1/+1 counter on it. And for those of you who aren't aware, if you have a -1/-1 counter and a +1/+1 counter on the same creature, they actually check each other out, and then you're left with no counter at all. Meaning that Murderous Redcap or any other creature with Persist is good to go and die again. This is really powerful because this means that you can use and abuse any kind of ETB style of effects, which Murderous Redcap will deal damage, and Celes puts a +1/+1 counter on all of your creatures.
Okay, well, right out of the get-go, I see the theme, and I thought the face commander was going to be scary, but this one's going to be way more scary. This looks terrifying.
This one definitely has the potential to just kind of go off out of nowhere, so I
Yeah.
will say that.
Well, you introduced the persist, so why don't we persist and keep talking about cards?
Yeah, our next one here, I have Lesser Masticore. It is 2 mana for an artifact creature, Masticore. It's a 2/2. It says as an additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card. We don't really care about that. It also has an ability in which you can pay 4 mana and it'll deal 1 damage to target creature. Kind of cute. The reason why this card is included in the list is once again because it has that Persist ability. I'm going to talk a lot about Persist for the next couple of cards. This is all going to make sense here in just a moment.
All right.
Lingering Tormentor is 3 and a black for a creature spirit. It's a 2/2 and it has Fear and Persist. Fear is a really old mechanic. It's kind of cool. They can't block it unless they control either a black or an artifact creature. So just kind of like a little evasive guy. Puppeteer Click is 3 and 2 black for 5 mana. You get a creature Fairy Wizard. It is a 3/2. With flying, it says whenever it enters the battlefield, you put a creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste, and at the beginning of the next end step, then you exile it. And this card, once again, also having persist.
Terrifying. You're gonna get that multiple
Kit-
times.
Yeah. Kithkin Spellduster is 4 and a white. It is a creature Kithkin Wizard. It's a 2/3 with flying, and it has an ability where you can pay 1 and a white to sacrifice it to destroy target enchantment, and it will come back with persist.
Ugh.
This helps us to be able to make sure our opponents don't get to play with enchantments.
I see that.
And then finally, for our persist package, we have Persistent Constrictor. This is 4 and a black for 5 mana. You get a creature zombie snake. It's a 5/3 and says at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, they lose 1 life, and you put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature they control. This also having persist.
Dude. Okay. The persist package. I see what you're doing here. And I'm not liking it. It looks really good.
Now, the persist package in and of itself, really cool. We're able to take advantage of creatures. It kind of makes them very, very difficult to deal with. A lot of them have cool abilities also that help to interfere with our opponents or deal damage. But the next package is actually what makes them really scary.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, so I got a couple creatures that we're going to talk about here, and the common theme is that they have the ability to sacrifice. Now, here's something that's really, really cool. If we sacrifice a creature with persist, it'll die, come back with a -1/-1 counter, and our commander will then try to put that +1/+1 counter on it. The 2 will negate, and then we can sacrifice it again. With any sacrifice outlet, we have the ability to potentially have an infinite number of ETBs, put an infinite number of counters on our creatures to include our, well, basically our entire board. So we're going to make our creatures really massive. And then just cause some chaos and shenanigans, swing in with big creatures, or just kill your opponents outright, depending on the creature with persist. So this first card here is Woe Strider. This is 2 and a black for 3 mana. You get a creature horror. It is a 3/2. It says whenever it enters, you make a 0/1 white goat creature token. You can sacrifice another creature to scry 1, and you can pay 3 and 2 black for its escape, in which you exile 4 other cards from your graveyard. It'll come back to the battlefield, and whenever this creature escapes, it comes back with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So it has the ability to bring itself back from the grave, which our commander already loves that. It's a sacrifice outlet on top of that, and it's a scry outlet. So if we are capable of being able to, say, for example, just infinite persist things and sacrifice away, this will allow us to scry through our deck to be able to put whatever card we want on top.
This is like the most Riley deck I've seen so far. Oh my god.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Cartel Aristocrat is a white and a black for 2 mana. You get a creature human advisor. It's a 2/2 and says sacrifice another creature. It gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. This is so cool because so long as we have a persist creature, we can make this basically have just protection from all colors. We can give it protection from everything. And then past that point, if this is on the battlefield, we're also putting a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yeah. Everything, right? Because the commander's your entire team.
Yeah, so it
Oh
puts
my
a
goodness.
+1/+1 counter on everything. So we will essentially, with this creature, we'll get something with protection from all colors that is insanely large.
Oh, I'm really liking the way this deck is shaping up. Let's keep going.
The Seer is a single black mana for a creature vampire wizard. It's a 1/1. Sacrifice a creature, scry 1. So same thing what I mentioned earlier with the Woe Strider. Look through your deck. Pick the card you want. Put it on top.
It's so dumb. I'm just thinking about that. The way it's scry, yeah, because it's on top or bottom. You're just like, well, I'm gonna keep doing it
Yep.
until I find the one that I want. I'm gonna leave it there.
Exactly. Now, sadly, because it's scry 1, you don't actually get to like stack your deck. You can only put the specific card on top, but
Right.
it does essentially kind of like act as a weird vampiric tutor in a sense.
That's really cool.
And then lastly, for our creatures, we have Carry On Feeder. For a single black mana, you get a creature zombie. It's a 1/1, can't block. That's okay. But it says it says sacrifice a creature to put a +1/+1 counter on Carry On Feeder, which is just hilarious because it's getting the counter from itself and now also going to be getting a counter from the commander. This thing is just massive.
I mean, you know what's better than 1 infinite counter? 2 infinite counters. Exactly. That appears to be all the creatures we're throwing in. What about some non-creature permanents?
I like sacrifice, so we're going to continue with the sacrifice theme. I've got a couple of artifacts. The first of which is Altar of Dementia. This is 2 mana for an artifact. This is sacrifice a creature. Target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power from the top of their library into their graveyard. With this in play, a persist creature and our commander, it is a an ability where we can mill all of our opponent's decks.
I see that. Not happy, but I see it.
Kind of cool. Ashnod's Altar for 3 mana. We have an artifact that says sacrifice a creature, add 2 mana. Same thing. This goes infinite. It can make an infinite amount of mana, so as long as we have enough sacrifice.
Oh man, I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
And then because that last one made colorless mana, we need to, of course, fix that with a Phyrexian Altar. 3 mana for an artifact. You can sacrifice a creature to add 1 mana of any color. So this one now, we have the ability to just like cast all of our spells too.
I'm just learning that persist with your commander is broken.
It's very broken.
Okay. Keep going. Talk to me.
In case we weren't able to deal enough damage to our opponents through some other means, I also have a Goblin Bombardment here. It is 1 and a red for an enchantment. So sacrifice a creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to any target. If we can keep our creature with persist in play, this allows us to be able to sacrifice it. It'll come back. We'll hit somebody for 1. This card allows us to just kill our opponents.
Another great card. Cool.
And then our last enchantment here, because I thought it was funny and I just wanted to throw it in, is Animate Dead. It is 1 and a black for an enchantment. It says whenever you play Animate Dead, you choose a target creature card in a graveyard whenever it comes into play. Put that creature also into play with Animate Dead. Attached to that creature as an enchantment. The enchanted creature gets -1/-0. And if Animate Dead leaves play, then you destroy that creature. So it's an old card. It's a fun card. It's very cheap recursion. So it allows us to be able to grab something from our graveyard, put it back in play, and then all of our things get +1/+1.
Yeah, it's like the most convoluted way to just say, grab a creature from your graveyard and reanimate it.
Yeah. It's
All right.
a little odd.
It's a little odd. It looks like we're at the lands department. You make any additions here?
I did. We have spent so much more budget on things. There's a couple heavy hitters, like the Phyrexian Altar, for example. So sadly, we can't fix the mana base up as much, but I am going to throw in both a Haunted Ridge and a Shattered Sanctum. Both of these lands say that they enter the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, so just make sure that you drop this on turn 3 or onward and you're good to go. And they tap for 1 of 2 different colors of mana.
Good to go.
And then I've also got Vault of Champions. It's one of the bond lands. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents, and then it'll tap for either a white or a black. So little bit of fixing here, not a ton.
Hey, all the bond lands. Happy to be here. Is that going to do it for the additions?
That is going to do it for the additions.
Right on. Well, now, after seeing your additions, we're going to get to the part where we have to make cuts. And it looks like we're going to have to make more cuts. So it seems like you're changing the theme a bit, right? So, hey, I totally understand it. And if people like the deck out of the box, don't do it. But if they want to mess around with yours, I suggest doing these cuts too. So let's talk through them.
Yeah, so obviously this is going to be it's the backup commander. It's a secondary. This deck isn't super focused so much on Celes. There's a couple cards in here that just really don't do anything for me. The first of which is the Warring Triad. 3 mana for a legendary artifact creature god. It's a 5/5 with flying, trample, and haste. And it also says as long as there are fewer than 8 cards in your graveyard, it's not a creature. You can tap it to mill a card and target player adds 1 mana of any color. So it's kind of like a little mana rock in the early game. And then in the mid to late game, it actually does have that creature ability once you have enough cards in the graveyard. So it's kind of cool in that sense, but it's just not really doing anything for me.
I understand that.
Up next is Summon Esper Villagarmata. It is 3 and a red for an enchantment creature, Saga Drake. It's a 3/3 with flying and haste. On the first lore counter, it has an ability that says exile an instant or sorcery card from each graveyard. And then it says for lore counters 2, 3, and 4, add red for each lore counter on this saga, and then you may cast an instant or sorcery card exiled with this saga, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. This is cool and like a spell slingery, want to be able to get stuff back deck, but we're very creature focused. This really isn't what we want to be doing. I talked a lot about these cards previously. I'm just going to get rid of them because they're really big and expensive. Kafka Dancing Mad, 7 mana for a 6/6 legendary creature, human wizard. He's got indestructible on your turn, so kind of protection-ish. Also, it says at the beginning of your end step, you exile a card at random from each opponent's graveyard. You may cast any number of spells exiled from those cards without paying their mana cost. And then each player who owns a spell that you cast this way loses life equal to its mana value. It's a cool card. It's 7 mana. It is so expensive, and it does nothing to add for this deck. Angel of Ruins is also 7 mana. It is a 5/7 artifact creature angel with flying, and it says whenever it enters, exile up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. It's got plain cycling where you can pay 2 mana and throw this into the graveyard. That's the only reason why you should probably be playing this card, and I'm not a fan of that. Ruin Grinder, 5 and a red, is a 7/4 artifact creature construct. It's got menace. It says whenever it dies, each player may discard their hand and draw 7 cards. Our commander is actually already really good at doing that, so I don't think I need this card. And it's got mountain cycling in here for 2. I'm just not a big fan of this.
Same.
Palace Jailer got cut from my other list as well. This is 2 and 2 white for a creature human soldier. It's a 2/2. Whenever it enters, you become the monarch. And whenever this creature enters, you exile target creature an opponent controls until that player's combat step whenever they hit you and they become the monarch.
Hey, I understand why you cut these because you cut them in the last one. Didn't really like them in that one, and I really don't like them in this one, so it's not on theme anymore for you. Your theme is very different.
Meteor Golem is a card that I did cut. I do actually like this one a little bit more in this list, but still going to be removing it. It's 7 mana. It's a 3/3 artifact creature golem. It says whenever it enters, you can destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. I still like this with the face commander because that 3 power means that we can reanimate this and get it into play for cheaper. But with this deck, 7 mana can be a lot. Yes, there is the potential that you make an infinite amount of mana, which means that you can cast this, sack this, cast this, sack this, and then you just blow up all of your opponent's non-land permanents. It's a cool route that you can go, and I definitely considered keeping that card or keeping this card in the list because of that. However, I just felt like that oftentimes was just win more, and we didn't really need it.
Tend to agree with that as well. 7 mana is nuts unless you have that infinite combo.
Solemn Simulacrum is 4 mana for an artifact creature golem. It's a 2/2. Whenever it enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, and whenever it dies, you may draw a card. It's cute. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows what Solemn does. It's included in here because it's included in every Precon. Just doesn't do it.
That's true. Sad Robot is in every Precon.
And then as far as the rest of the creature package goes, one more to go. It's Combustible Gear Hulk. 4 and 2 red. Artifact creature construct. It's a 6/6 with first strike. Whenever it enters, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards, and if that player doesn't, you mill 3 cards. Then that creature, then this creature deals damage to that player equal to the total mana value of those cards. This is a deck that has the ability to reanimate things, but if you haven't noticed, we mainly want them on the battlefield and then them to die so that they can come back, not just from the graveyard. So if our opponent sees this, they're probably just going to have us mill 3 cards, in which case this did nothing. And since we were also once again lowering the overall mana value of this deck, chances are it's not even going to really hurt them for all that much.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that as well. Hey, but that looks like all the creatures. I'm seeing some stuff that we saw in the Face Commander. What are these cuts?
Yeah, so I have a couple of artifacts. Coin of Fate is going to be removed here as well. It is 1 and a white for an artifact. Whenever it enters, you surveil 1. You could pay 4 mana, tap it, and exile 2 creature cards from your graveyard. You sacrifice this artifact, and an opponent chooses one of the exiled cards. You can put that card on the bottom of your library and return the other to the battlefield tapped, and then you become the monarch. I don't get this card. I'm not a fan of this card. No.
Same, no.
Phoenix Down, talked about this one in the YouTube video. Pains my heart to have Phoenix Down get cut from a Final Fantasy deck, but for 1 mana, you get an artifact where you can pay 1 and a white, tap it, exile this artifact, choose 1. Return target creature card with mana value of 4 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That can be cool if your opponent has managed to get rid of one of your cards with Persist. It just gives you another option to be able to reanimate something. However, doesn't really do enough here. And then, of course, you can exile a skeleton, spirit, or zombie. I don't know if that's ever going to be relevant.
Hey, I play Spirit Kindred sometimes. It could matter.
Yeah.
It's never going to matter.
Key to the City is the last artifact we're going to remove. It's 2 mana for an artifact that you can tap to discard a card, and up to 1 target creature can't block this turn. It also says whenever this artifact becomes untapped, you can pay 2. If you do that, you draw a card. I like this for the face commander. Not so much here. I don't really care. If our creatures are insanely large or we're comboing off, I don't necessarily care. Yes, sure, they could potentially get chumped block. They're not going to die in combat. And our commander doesn't actually need to attack for it to be relevant on the battlefield, unlike the face commander. So Key to the City is sadly going to get cut.
Yeah, it's not a key to my heart. We don't need it. What about some non-creature spells?
I have 2 sorceries that are going to be getting cut here. The first of which is Snort. It is 3 and a red. For a sorcery, it says each player may discard their hand and draw 5 cards. Then Snort deals 5 damage to each opponent who discarded their hand this way. It's got a flashback cost of 5 and a red. I just felt like for this, we're not super really wanting to fill up our graveyard as much. And then past that point, too, our opponents are just going to take 5 damage unless it benefits them.
Yeah.
So I give them the choice.
It doesn't work in your commander anymore. It makes sense.
Yeah. And then Tragic Arrogance is 3 and 2 white for a sorcery. It says for each player you choose from among the permanents that player controls, an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker. Then each player sacrifices all other non-land permanents they control. It's a big scary board wipe.
Kind of.
Kind of. It's big and scary enough, except for that one player who has 1 artifact and 1 planeswalker and 1
Yeah.
creature. Then they're fine.
Then they're like, oh, I'm not even arrogant. I don't care. All right, cut it. Get it gone. It looks like we're making some cuts to some lands as well. What are we doing?
Yep, Ash Barrens, once again, gonna go. Don't like this. Goodbye. Taps for a colorless, basic land cycling. I'm not a fan. This is a 3-color deck, too. Like, if this were a 2-color deck, no, I wouldn't actually play this into... I don't know what I'm talking about. Ash Barrens is bad. Evolving Wilds, same thing. Played in a landfall deck. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's all I got to say that's positive about that card, so I'm done talking about it. And then I did want to remove 2 other lands. I'm going to be cutting both Shadow Blood Ridge and Desolate Mire. These lands are the ones where you have to pay to filter. I just don't like having lands that don't actually do anything on their own.
Yeah, so do I. I hate it. Big pet hate of mine. Is that going to do it, though? Is that the entire cut and ads and everything?
That is going to do it. That is the total $100 upgrade for this deck.
Right on. Well, at the time of recording, like we always said, what is it going to come out to if you wanted to pick up all these editions?
This one a little bit more expensive than the Face Commander. It is coming out to 101. Not a whole lot of new cards from Final Fantasy that are getting thrown in here. So with that being said, I'm not expecting these prices to fluctuate as much. There are a couple heavy hitters. Obviously, we've got the prices up there for you. You could cut some of those cards, and if you do, you'll probably end up saving yourself a pretty decent amount of money. If you want to invest more in the mana base, that's really what I would recommend. And I am so incredibly excited to be able to play with the $300 version of this deck as well. This $100 has so much teeth. The $300 is just insanity.
It literally looks like I'm going to be crying when we play, so cool. Great. So do you have, I guess I was going to ask you, do you have any final thoughts, but that kind of seemed like your final thoughts. Do you have any more final thoughts?
This is a really cool deck. It's a really cool card, really cool commander. Sadly, it's not Final Fantasy centric, but I'm here for it.
I can tell you are very enthusiastic about this upgrade. Well, I liked it, but what did you guys think? Leave Riley a comment letting them know. Did they add something you didn't think they should add? Did they cut something you didn't like? Give some feedback. We like reading, we like learning. Like this video too if you like the upgrade. And in the description you'll find a link to the Mox build. Playtest the deck. Check out the cards. It'll all be in the description. Also down there you'll find links to all of our socials. Follow us along. On screen right now, these are all of our Patreon members. If you want to see what they're seeing, which is not here on YouTube, some early content, some exclusive content, check the link in the description and consider subscribing. And a very special shout out to our Gains Indestructible tier, starting with
Aaron Hill,
Aaron Martin,
Ryan Ganella,
Daryl Tripp,
Demarion Turner,
Doc Jerome,
Jimmy Ward,
Kevo,
Larry Killian,
Thrifty PSGR,
and William Colombo.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the extra support, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Laters.